All right, thank you very much for attending the first inaugural episode of Timesharing Thursday. Basically, the intention of this is just to cover a few of the articles and topics discussed on TUG the past week or even the past few days, as well as answer a question that we get pretty commonly through email. I'll try and have one of these fairly regularly, depending on how this goes. So please bear with me. It's our first attempt. These settings might be a little bit off for Zoom. I might choose another platform to host this that's a bit more interactive. I know there are a few out there, but we'll give this a shot, see how people like it, and see how it goes. So as of this week, we're here at the end of June 2022, and I have to say that the most popular discussion topic of the past week has been the announcement of the new Marriott Vistana exchange integration program called Abound. There are two extremely large threads, both in the Vistana forum as well as in the Marriott forum, with owners going back and forth and discussing the recent announcement by Marriott about this new exchange program. The gist so far is that while the details have not been announced, there is a plan, from what I've seen, to July 1st should have a much more broad announcement from Marriott as well as Vistana to owners, so keep an eye out for that. But as it is now, it looks like this is the new name for the consolidated program that will allow Marriott Vacation Club owners to access Vistana properties and Vistana owners to access Marriott properties under one single umbrella. Obviously, this brings up extremely worrisome concerns from both sides on how their points or their memberships are going to be valued compared to the other system. Whereas you have, Marriott owners that probably feel that they should have more value for their ownerships than Vistana owners, and vice versa. And so there's probably never going to be a perfect solution on that. And in any case, someone is going to be upset by the final product. But I'd imagine that there are a significant amount of teams on both sides, the Marriott side and the Vistana side, much smarter than I am, that are working on this problem and attempting to come up with a happy medium. One of the biggest concerns I believe I've seen people report is the booking window, where it seems to allow some sort of overlap between what Marriott owners can currently book for, which is 8 months, 12 months, 13 months, and or the Vistana owners have a different range of windows, and it seems that the new Abound program will allow access out to 12 months, which may or may not result in some issues. That also none of these are fixed in terms of the final result. They certainly could change on July 1st. This program has not yet been implemented, so anything we're reading now that's been released is certainly up for change or debate, as well as all of the discussions going on in the forums are just people's opinions on what they're reading and what they're getting from sales presentations, what they're seeing in the Marriott website and hearing in the calls. But again, as I understand it, none of this is finalized. The program does not exist yet. It is going to be rolled out this summer, certainly greatly anticipated by hundreds of thousands of owners in both systems. And we will certainly keep you updated as things come into play. So if you want to read either of those threads, either the Vistana owner thread or the Marriott owner thread, they're very, very popular, very, very active, and have tons of information about what we currently know, as well as possible solutions moving forward, problematic solutions. We hope that these will be addressed before the official rollout, but it is what it is for now, and please feel free to join in the discussion. The other item for discussing for the past month or so is we've had a timeshare survey that we've created, and we've had almost 1,000 responses to the survey, which has been amazing. We plan on using this survey and promotional materials for TUG, as well as send out press releases. But more importantly, it was genuinely something I was interested in, finding the answers to some of these questions. We had more than 50 questions in the survey. Some people got asked certain questions or did not ask certain questions based on some of their earlier answers. But the answers have been truly enlightening. Many of the answers were probably in line with what most people have expected, and we will certainly release every single one of those statistical answers in a future press release, as well as on the TUG forums, so they can see the answers to that. I truly hope that anyone who hasn't participated in the survey, I'll put a link in the comments below when I upload this to YouTube. Please ask the survey, please fill it out. It only takes a few minutes to do so. I'm hoping we get up to about 1,000 responses. We got a huge number of responses in the first 24 to 48 hours, and that's kind of tapered off a little bit. We'd certainly like to see another couple hundred people answer that, just to kind of round out the standard deviation there. Some of the answers were very, very expected, as the majority of the people filling these out are TUG members, and thus some of the information and knowledge that TUG members have is certainly not norm in the industry, and thus the answers to some of those questions, for example, knowledge about resale, resale values, and so on and so forth, is probably not as common for the average timeshare owner as it is for a TUG member. That said, there were some really interesting results that we are going to enjoy sharing with the rest of the timeshare industry, and I hope that they will find them as interesting as we do. So again, if you haven't filled out the survey, I'll include a link in this below. Please click it, fill it out. Costs you nothing, doesn't ask for any personal information. We don't track this information. We're not using it to sell this to a third party or anything like that. It's purely just for information gathering, and we will share this information free and open to the public. I have no plans or desire to sell or share that information with anyone else. Now to the question of the week. I had an owner contact us regularly with help to sell their timeshare. It's probably the most common question we get on TUG on a daily basis. This particular owner wanted help getting rid of their Vacation Village timeshare. Unfortunately, in this situation, for those of you that don't know, Vacation Village, like many other timeshares out there, has no real resale value, and in almost all cases has to be given away on the resale market for $1. There are multiple active listings on TUG for multiple Vacation Village resorts, be it Parkway or any of the other Vacation Village locations throughout the country. Unfortunately, all of them are in most cases in the situation where they have to be given away. There have been reports for owners of Vacation Village offering a deed back program. Unfortunately, it does not appear to be free. So for you Vacation Village owners who are looking to get rid of their timeshare, your two realistic options at this point are to offer it up for free, be it on TUG or Craigslist or eBay or any other legitimate non-large upfront fee charging resale site, or contact Vacation Village and request a deed back. Some of the amounts did seem kind of high. So one person claimed they charged $1,500. Another person claimed they charged a year's worth of maintenance fees. That might be a very, very similar number, but it is an option. And working directly with the resort usually results in a much quicker and faster solution to exiting your timeshare. So if you own a Vacation Village timeshare and you're looking to dispose of it, you certainly offer it for sale upon TUG. We do successfully have Vacation Village timeshares sold on TUG on a regular basis. Unfortunately, those that do get sold are the ones being offered for free or a single $1, and in many cases, the seller offering to cover closing costs as well. But it is a viable solution for owners who are looking to get out of their timeshare. And the other option, obviously, is to contact Vacation Village directly and request information on their deed back program. I have no doubt that this is something that is handled on a case-by-case basis, as I've not seen any official announcement from Vacation Village. But it is an option, and it's probably something that you would want to look into if you don't want to go through the process of trying to give it away on the resale market. Certainly no reason not to try both, as the early, doesn't matter to you as far as you're concerned, whether or not someone takes it off your hands for $1 or Vacation Village takes it back from you with probably the fee paid to them, which would hopefully include closing costs involved in that. But those two options are viable, are active, and we do have users in the community that use these two problems successfully to get rid of their timeshare, their Vacation Village timeshare. So that's the question of the week. As we switch now to, it looks like we have a few people still online. Certainly any comments or questions, I'll let them unmute and ask questions or ask in chat about any of the three topics we discussed, or if they want to bring something else up. This part might not make it into the upload video. I might trim it off. So this can certainly be a free form chat in terms of what you guys want to talk about, or tell me I suck, or tell me how much this needs improvement. I'm always feedback is always welcome, either it's positive or negative. I just want to make this a better. Obviously, I've already learned one thing. I need to take better notes so that I can flow a bit better on here. So if you guys, I'm not sure it lets you unmute or not. Let me make sure. I think you guys can unmute. Be allowed to. Travel seems to be up this year, and external exchange options are less. Any questions about that? That's certainly not an uncommon question I've gotten, and not an uncommon comment on the forums. Certainly, COVID has not gone away. However, it does seem that more and more folks are either becoming acceptant of the fact that it's going to be here forever, and certainly taking whatever steps they need to take to make themselves feel comfortable in continuing on with their lives in terms of vacation travel. And thus travel is absolutely up. More people are taking vacations. Obviously, air travel is still a nightmare, for lack of a better term. I can't tell you how many stories I've gotten from friends and from TUG, from Facebook, that just report that air travel is just miserable right now. Canceled flights, delayed flights, whether it's crew or maintenance or whatever. COVID is certainly here to stay, if not for the health impact to you personally throughout. It certainly has impacted labor, staffing, delivery of goods. Everything you can possibly think of has been impacted by COVID, and thus, restaurants, it's just customer service. Everything seems to be on the decline, for lack of a better term. And it's many people just aren't used to it, me including. I try to be acceptant, understanding of the situation, but you can certainly see a notable change in many cases when you go out to just a regular restaurant or stay at a hotel or something, and you can just kind of tell things are different, and things are likely going to be different for quite some time. In terms of external exchange options, that's a great question. I will say that in doing this in the past, going on 16 plus years now, I've never had a year where people didn't complain that there weren't enough exchange options available. They couldn't get what they want, or stuff didn't seem to be available. That's kind of been one of the major gripes timeshare exchanging since timesharing began, or timeshare exchanging began. That said, I can certainly see more and more people. It kind of started before COVID, but COVID just ramped up in terms of defaults, and people just timesharing and their vacation travel is just not something on their mind. And either they're not depositing an interval, or they're not using their timeshare period, or they stop paying for it because, hey, my resort's been closed. Why should I pay? All of those things are going to negatively impact the available options within any of the external exchange companies. Again, that's just my theory and just my opinion. That certainly could have absolutely nothing to do with the reality of the situation. But no, I think that there's never been a time where exchanges were plentiful, if that makes sense. I mean, you can always find something somewhere. So it's not like the exchange pool is drying up, but in terms of not being able to find where I want to go at the time I want to go, it's unfortunately been a common complaint that we get on an almost daily basis, and going back as far as I can remember. I certainly don't see that improving. And in terms of that, maybe with the new Marriott's program, then all the consolidations with Hilton buying resorts, Marriott consolidating resorts, maybe in 10 years we will all have just two different giant resorts that compete with RCI and II directly, because they have so many individual resorts within their own individual exchange systems that it's a much more appealing way to travel to different locations without your home resort. You see a lot of Westgate listings get closed as sold. That's also a great question. While no more or less than any other Florida timeshare, for that lack of a better term, you do see that almost all Westgate listings, other than a select few that, for example, I think Gatlinburg is fairly common, just because it has a 4-bedroom, which I think is rather rare, especially in the Smoky Mountains resort. Almost all of them, again, have no resale value. The restrictions that Westgate places on the resale buyer helps that a lot to drive that resale price down. Also don't get very high regards in terms of opinions from owners, in terms of customer service and how they're treated. I personally rented Westgate Orlando's because they're just plentiful. They're just always available. The resorts are absolutely gigantic, and there's just always inventory available, either through an exchange, especially getaways. I find those a lot. Westgate show up a lot, especially Westgate Orlando's. It's still one of the bigger timeshares out there, so people are still buying it. They're in active sale, and thus, there's obviously an appeal to people to buy and sell Westgate timeshares. I wouldn't consider that any more or less difficult, for example, than the Vacation Village timeshare. Westgate also has a DFAC program, It does have a similar cost, at least from what I've seen for the Vacation Village. I've seen anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 to surrender Westgate ownership back. But again, also something likely on a case-by-case basis. But at least in this situation, it is an official Westgate program. You can contact a specific department to discuss the Westgate feedback, and they can probably tell you how much it's going to cost, if you even qualify for it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I don't see Westgates in terms of those any more or less difficult to give away on the resale market. Obviously, selling for an amount of money certainly ramps up that difficulty much more. As it just doesn't happen very often, if not ever. We saw a very small increase in maintenance fees the last 2 years, likely because of reduced usage and housekeeping. With higher usage this year and runaway inflation, how much do you expect next year's maintenance fees to increase? That is a fantastic question. ARDA did release, that'll probably be in next week's show, released their state of the industry. Showed the average maintenance fee is now over $1,200. I believe the quote was. I'd have to go back and look at the number. I don't expect maintenance fees to go down anytime soon. I would absolutely expect them to go up again next year. The cost of everything in 2022 has just gone through the roof. It's just absurd. Everything from grocery store food to asphalt for paving to gas prices to you name it, it costs more. I can't think of a single thing that is cheaper this year than it was last year, and it does not look like. Again, I'm not a macroeconomics expert, and don't claim to be an expert on the global economy. But in terms of trending, I don't see anything that indicates this roller coaster is heading down anytime soon. Certainly, fingers crossed. I don't like paying more for toilet paper any more than anyone else does. But it is certainly likely going to impact the timeshare industry as well, is because the cost of labor to staff the resorts, the cost of everything to maintain the resorts, the cost of laundry, everything, every little bitty cost line item that goes into running a resort has gone up, and it's not gone up by 1 or 2%. Unfortunately, you see things that 10, 25% more, especially for material goods, and shipping and labor costs will continue to rise as for example, Florida implemented its minimum wage up to $15 an hour over a multi-year period. So it was $10 an hour minimum last year. It's $11, I think, this year, $12 next year, and so on and so forth, all the way to get up to $15 an hour. And that staffing for a resort, it's labor expenses is a very significant line item for many resorts. When you talk about not just the front desk staff, but the maintenance staff, the housekeeping staff, people that Salesforce staff, unfortunately, and I know you don't like to hear that, but every single employee of a resort or a resort developer as now is being paid more, for lack of a better term. The minimum wage entry level jobs are just cost more, and thus that any company is going to pass that cost on to the end result, the end consumer. Obviously, there's no real way to absorb that cost and keep prices flat. Thus, if the cost to run and maintain the resort goes up, that is absolutely going to be passed on to the timeshare owner. They never want the mud weeks back. They just want you to pay to give back the good stuff. Yeah, we've heard that as well. Certainly, deed back programs, they sound good on paper, and they make for fantastic press releases from ARDA and such, saying that if you want out of your timeshare, just call us and we'll take it back. We have absolutely heard of multiple resort systems, Westgate included, refusing to take back junk weeks. And at the end of the day, you really have three options. We even have an article on it. You can either give it away or sell it. Obviously, that requires you to find someone who's willing to willingly take it from you. You can negotiate to give it back to the resort, which, as we discussed, has its sometimes it's successful, sometimes it fails. And in this case, that's not an option for people with mud weeks. And the last option is to default. Unfortunately, that's not something we suggest. But we also don't suggest you pay for something you can't use for the rest of your life. So it's the two really terrible options that many owners are forced to pick from in this day and age when there just aren't any other options available to them. I personally find it just as unreasonable to choose to stop paying for a timeshare as it is to force me to pay for the timeshare for the rest of my life, especially after I have either I can't use it anymore due to health reasons or age or death of a spouse or whatever. I have made every effort to give it away on the resale market and made an effort to give it back to the resort. If I can check all three of those boxes and I still don't have the ability to get out from under that timeshare, default is on the table. I don't have any other way to sugarcoat that otherwise make that sound any prettier than it is. And unfortunately, it's in this day and age that is a real solution. It's touted by companies that charge thousands of dollars for quote unquote exit plans. Defaulting is an option. Obviously, we would want it to be the last option you choose from after exhausting all the others. But and when you're forced with picking in two really, really bad options and two really expensive options, at the end of the day, between putting food on the table or paying rent or paying my maintenance fees, that becomes less a gray area in certain situations when people are forced to make really, really hard decisions like that. I like the format and question of the week. I think this would be a good history of information in different formats, traditional TUG, maybe some information on the destination of the week. Oh, I like that. I actually do like that idea. Thank you very much, Jeff. That's the destination of the week. We can do that. Cover that. I probably could have incorporated that with the Vacation Village. I think they were trying to sell Weston, so maybe Orlando could be something like that. That would be Maui and Kauai are having TSA issues this week, inspecting long lines. Yeah, it's everywhere. We had friends come back from Colorado, and it's just an absolute nightmare. And then I saw somebody release some travel tips on almost always either try to travel a day in advance or get the earliest flight out. That way, if I guess there's some statistic, and I traveled for years and I never even thought about this. The first flight out is almost always a much higher percent of getting off on time. Again, it's total common sense now that you think about it, but is delayed or canceled, just an exponentially less amount of time than later in the day flights. So if you can, even if it means getting up at 5 a.m. to make that 6 a.m. flight, or actually 3 a.m. probably now in this day and age. I'm lucky enough to remember what it was like to travel before 9/11, when you could literally just walk up to the airport, walk through the gate, and get on a plane. But as it is now, anything you can do to get there early, or to even plan an extra day on your vacation, just to make sure that a missed flight or canceled flight that prevents you from arriving on the day you need to go, especially if you're going to a wedding or an event or going to a cruise. I get that all the time. It happened to my father recently, where the cruise left because, but without them, it's not like the cruise ship's going to wait because you missed your flight, or even if your flight was 8-10 hours late if you were arriving same day. No, 100% across the board, just the complaints and issues with flight delays or flight cancellations or otherwise, what used to be, out of the norm travel disruptions are certainly now becoming more and more normal as we continue to struggle through the current, environment we exist in today. But no, I certainly agree with the suggestions 100%. Try and plan an extra day for your vacation just for travel, and/or try and book the first flight out. That was the best tip I'd heard in a while. Get that 6 a.m. flight out, just in case, even if you get to your layover or whatever, you have all day to be rebooked or bumped onto another flight should something happen. And at least you have a much better chance of getting there versus rolling the dice and assuming that your 8 p.m. flight is going to make it to Atlanta by 9 o'clock, and you get on your 10 o'clock flight to wherever you happen to be going. So yeah, I spent many years traveling, air travel almost weekly. I traveled 48, 49 weeks a year for many years, and then certainly a significant difference between the experience then, experience before 9/11, experience after 9/11, and what I'm hearing now. I mean, I feel for people who travel for work on a regular basis now. I certainly don't think I could handle it at this point, but that could just be me getting old. That looks like the last of the questions. Anything else you guys want to comment or mention? Again, I might trim some of this off in the recording, so especially if it's something personal or whatever you want to chat. I thought I allowed people to unmute. Oh, I did. Okay, there you go. Now I can unmute yourselves if you guys want to actually unmute chat. Sorry, I saw that security item kept you from doing that. So if someone wants to say something versus chat, I apologize. I thought I checked that box instead of making you guys type. So I can actually pause the recording at this point. So